We are holding our own. Those were the last 5 words ever spoken from the largest ship on the Great Lakes. 10 minutes later, she was gone. 29 men, no distress call, no bodies, just 5 words, and a song that would not let the world forget. November 9th, 1975, Superior, Wisconsin. The SS Edmund Fitzgerald is loading 26,000 tons of taconite iron ore, pellets the size of marbles, pouring from dockside chutes into her holds. She is 729 feet long. When she was launched in 1958, she was the biggest ship on the lakes. The newspapers called her the Mighty Fitz, the pride of the American side. Her captain is Ernest McSorley, 63 years old, 44 years on the Great Lakes. This is supposed to be one of his last voyages before retirement. That afternoon, the National Weather Service issues gale warnings for Lake Superior. By the next morning, those warnings are upgraded. Storm warnings, hurricane-force winds expected. McSorley has sailed through gales before. He has run through hundreds of them. He sets course east-southeast toward Detroit with the Arthur M. Anderson, another big ore boat, falling in behind him as company. By the afternoon of November 10th, Lake Superior is no longer a lake. It is something else. Winds tear across the surface at 50, 60, 80 miles an hour. Waves climb to 35 feet. Snow turns to a horizontal white wall. The Fitzgerald and the Anderson take the storm on their starboard quarter, the worst possible angle, for hour after hour. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the Fitzgerald breaks radio silence. McSorley tells Captain Cooper of the Anderson, "A fence rail is down. 2 vent covers are gone. The ship has a list. Both pumps are running." 40 minutes later, another call. Both radars on the Fitzgerald have failed. He asks Cooper to plot him, to guide him toward the safety of Whitefish Bay. The Anderson watches the Fitzgerald on its own radar screen. A bright, steady blip 10 miles ahead, plowing forward into the storm. At 7:10 p.m., Cooper raises McSorley on the radio one last time. He asks how the Fitzgerald is making out. McSorley's voice comes back, calm and tired. "We are holding our own." Some people remember he added, "Going along like an old shoe." Then nothing. The Anderson watches the Fitzgerald's blip for another 10 minutes. Through static, through snow returns on the radar, and then, around 7:20 p.m., the blip is simply gone. Captain Cooper waits. He calls. He calls again. He calls the Coast Guard. He turns his own ship around in 80-mile-an-hour winds and goes back to look. He finds debris in the dark, a life ring, a wooden oar, a propane tank, a damaged lifeboat crushed almost in half. But the Edmund Fitzgerald is not there. She is 530 feet down, in 2 pieces, split across the cold floor of Lake Superior. 29 men are aboard. None of them got into a lifeboat. None of them sent a distress call. Lake Superior is so cold that the bodies of the dead do not rise. They are still down there in the dark with the ship 50 years later. What sank her? Nobody knows for certain. One theory says the cargo hatches failed, that for hours water had been pouring into her holds, slowly, invisibly, weighing her down. And when the bow finally took one wave too many, she simply dove. Another theory says she scraped over 6 Fathom Shoal that afternoon and tore a hole in her bottom, that everything after was just the slow drowning of a wounded ship. A third theory says it was the waves themselves. The Anderson reported being struck by 3 monstrous rogue waves. Sailors call them the 3 Sisters, minutes before the Fitzgerald disappeared. 2 waves rolled across the Anderson's deck. The third, they say, kept going, toward the Fitzgerald. The official inquiry could not pick one. Half a century later, neither can anyone else. 9 months after the sinking, a Canadian folk singer named Gordon Lightfoot released a song called "The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald." It hit number 2 on the Billboard charts. And because of that song, a Great Lakes ore boat became the most famous shipwreck in North America. School children who have never seen Lake Superior can sing the names of the men who died on her. In 1995, divers brought up the Fitzgerald's bronze bell. They replaced it with a replica, engraved with the names of the 29 men, so that something would always speak for them down there in the dark. Every November 10th, at the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum at Whitefish Point, that bell is rung, 29 times for the crew, and 1 time more for every sailor the lakes have ever taken. No major commercial vessel has been lost on the Great Lakes since. The mighty Fitz was the last. The ocean still hides thousands of forgotten stories. Follow to uncover them.